They said no human could survive here. A planet so hostile, so violent, that the galaxy labeled it untouchable. But when the storms came, when the ground cracked and the sky tried to erase them, the humans did not run. They built. They endured. They redefined what it means to call something home. This is the story of Emberhold, the colony that broke every rule, and the report that shattered everything the stars thought they knew. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The ship's descent was slow and shaky. A thick red haze wrapped around the shuttle as it pierced the upper skies of a RKEN fall. Auditor Halden Maris sat stiffly in his harness, eyes locked on the display screen. Winds screamed outside like a wild beast. Temperature spikes flashed warnings. Radiation levels flirted with dangerous. Standard procedure said this planet should have been uninhabitable. But according to Central Command, there was a functioning human outpost down there. Logic said. No. The landing pad came into view through the haze. It was real. Steel arms extended from scorched rock, covered in dust and scratch marks. And then a voice crackled through the comms. This is Emberhold Control. Welcome to Arkenfall. Coffee's hot if your stomach's suicidal. Halden blinked. He hadn't expected humor, or coffee, or anyone alive. The ship touched down with a heavy groan. The door slid open. Heat slapped his face. Air barely passable, but breathable. Halden stepped out slowly, adjusting his visor and holding his report pad tight. A tall woman stood at the edge of the platform. Black uniform, boots melted in places, arms crossed like she owned the world. Commander Leora Vance. The one who signed every weekly log. Central thought was faked. She gave him a lazy salute. You're early, she said. We just finished chasing off a plasma storm and fixing the toilets. Halden frowned. This is a Class 17 hazard world, he said. You shouldn't be alive. Leora shrugged. And yet here we are. Care to see how we keep not dying? He followed her across the landing zone. Every building looked temporary. Patched metal, repurposed hull plates, wires snaking across the ground like roots. It looked like it should fall apart if someone sneezed. And yet lights flickered. Machines hummed. Doors opened when they approached. The smell of cooked something drifted from a side vent. They entered. The command hub, cooler air, low lighting. A map of the planet glowed on the wall. Data flowed in real time. Vance gestured to a seat. We've been here 23 months, she said. 15 of those in full lockdown. We ran out of regulation. Food week 6. Halden scanned the room. Everything here said survival. But not the kind you train for. The kind you invent. The door hissed open. A man walked in with oil-stained gloves, wild hair, and a grin too wide to be normal. Tessa Rowell, Vance said. Our miracle engineer. Miracle's a strong word, Tesser said. I just break science until it agrees with me. Halden stared. You modified the air filters using acid rain components? Yes, Tesser said. Turns out acid is useful if you teach it manners. Halden made a note. Unapproved adaptation. Probable violation. Also genius. Another person burst in, short, full of energy, and dragging a small hovering box behind them. Mecha Sulin, Vance introduced. Communications and systems. The signal boost tower survived the last quake, Mika said, breathless. And I taught it a new song. Halden blinked. You sing to your systems? Mika nodded. It keeps them from exploding. I think. Halden didn't know if he was in a scientific breakthrough or a mental ward. But everything worked. Systems ran. Defenses were online. And the crew was alive. Too alive. They laughed. They joked. They moved with the confidence of people who had nothing left to prove. They took him on a tour. Solar collectors, built from crashed debris. A greenhouse shielded by melted glass. Water filtration using ground steam. Vents. Each solution unorthodox. Each system held together by grit and creativity. Watched a creature skitter past the window. Tall, thin, shimmered like heat waves. Flux shades, Vance said. They're territorial, but we figured out their pattern language. Tesser built a translator using recycled memory chips. Halden wrote that down too. Translation of non-verbal native species. Unapproved interaction. Also impossible. They ended the tour at the observation deck. The sun was setting. Purple skies bled into black. Storms danced on the horizon, and Emberhold stood strong. I came here expecting ruins, Halden said. I expected to send a final shutdown notice. Vance looked at him. But you found us alive. He nodded. This changes things. Vance gave a tired smile. You can write your report. Tell them the truth. Or whatever version doesn't get us shut down. Halden didn't answer. His mind raced. Nothing here made sense. Nothing fit the rules. But everything worked. As night fell, he sat alone in his temporary bunk. Outside, the storm began. Inside, Emberhold buzzed with life. Halden looked at his datapad. Blank. Report. Blinking cursor. He started typing. Planet, Arkenfall. Designation, Class 17 Hazard. Status, occupied. Colony name, Emberhold. Survivability rating, unknown. Recommendation, reconsider the definition of possible. The storm howled. The humans laughed. And Logic took a step back. Asterisk rain came sideways on a RKEN fall. Thick, sharp drops that hissed on metal and steamed on stone. They didn't call it rain. They called it needlefall. Halden watched from behind a sealed window as the colony braced. Shutters locked. Power grids rerouted. Lights dimmed to preserve energy. Outside, the sky churned like boiling soup. Mika Sulin stood next to him, chewing on a wire casing like it was gum. This one's mild, she said. Last week, we lost half the antenna. Array. Tessa rebuilt it using a toaster and a broken drone. Halden raised an eyebrow. You're joking. Mika grinned. Mostly. Alarms stayed silent. No evacuation. No panic. Just a team of humans sipping recycled coffee, while nature tried to erase them. Halden still couldn't believe it. How do you survive storms like this? He asked. We talked to them, Mika said. He turned. Talk? Well, not like with words, she said. But the flux shades understand storms. They feel their rhythm, their flow. We send them pulses. They respond with signals. What kind of signals? Mostly math, she said. Sometimes patterns, sometimes movement. Tesser calls it electromagnetic dance. Halden frowned. And this dance stops the storms? Mika shook her head. Nothing. Stops a storm on Arkenfall. But sometimes the shades guide them away. Sometimes they warn us. As if on cue, the lights flickered. Mika didn't flinch. That's normal, she said. The shades just passed over the eastern ridge. Halden looked out again. Figures moved in the mist. Tall, shifting, like walking smoke. The flux shades. Hostile, not friendly. Just there. The mystery of a RKEN fall. Later, in the main hall, Halden sat with Tessa Rowell. The engineer had laid out scraps of metal, bits of crystal, and what looked like jelly. This is part of our translator, Tesser said. We built it using leftover mining gear and flux shade residue. Halden didn't ask where the jelly came from. Tessar continued. The shades communicate in spikes, changes in magnetic fields. We used to think they were random. Turns out they're math-based. Repeating sequences. You cracked their language? We cracked a part of it, Tesser said. Basic signals. Warning pulses. Directional guides. Halden leaned forward. And the shades respond? Not always, Tesser said. But sometimes they mimic our pulses, or shift in ways we can track. Once, they formed a spiral outside the base. 30 minutes later, a quake hit. They were warning you, probably. Or showing off. A loud crack echoed above. Not thunder, not wind, not a direct strike. Systems went dark for 2 seconds. Emergency lights flicked on. No one panicked. Vance entered the hall. Boots wet, expression calm. Grids fine. Backup kicked in. She turned to Halden, ready to see how we really survive storms. They led him below the command deck. Into the tunnels. Carved by hand. Reinforced by flux shade materials. They leave behind a kind of residue, Vance said. Stronger than steel. Flexible. We call it fluxskin. You use it for construction? And shielding. And power insulation. Sometimes clothes. Tesser made a jacket from it. It hums in the rain. In the tunnel, Halden saw a chamber glowing. Blue. Inside, the flux translator hummed. A steady pulse. 2 tones. A pause. Repeat. That's our message, Vance said. A greeting and a question. What question? Where will the storm go? The device buzzed louder. Then stopped. 3 sharp tones. Pause. Then a low hum. Their answer. Tesser said. Halden stood frozen. The machine had spoken. The shades had answered. And somewhere above them, the storm began to drift. Halden checked his pad. Storm data confirmed a pressure shift. The worst of it was moving east. Away from Ember Hold. This isn't science, Halden muttered. Sure it is, Tesser said. Just the kind that scares people. They returned topside once the storm passed. Sunlight broke through red clouds. The world glistened like rusted glass. Flux shades moved along the ridge, not running, not attacking. Just being. Vance stood next to Halden. They were here long before us, she said. And they'll be here long after, but for now, we coexist. Halden looked out across the ruined plains. The wind carried heat and memory. Central Command thinks this place is dead, he said. Vance nodded. To them, it is. But to you? She looked at the shades. This is home. Wild, violent, alive. We don't conquer it. We adapt. Halden made a note. Adaptive communication with native life. Unorthodox survival methods. Potential for new classification. As the day ended, the team gathered for a simple meal. No speeches. No ceremonies. Just quiet pride. Halden didn't eat much. But he listened. To the stories. To the laughter. To the wind pressing against the walls like an old argument. The shades danced outside. Deep underground, machines pulsed a question. And somewhere in the storm's memory, an answer waited. Arkenfall never rested. Even when the sky was clear, the ground murmured warnings. Deep beneath Ember Hold, tectonic plates scraped like angry metal. The colony stood anyway. Every wall, every beam, every bolt. Built with hands that knew failure was just a starting point. Halden walked through the greenhouse corridor. Heat clung to the air, mixed with soil, steam, and the sharp tongue of nutrient paste. Dr. Elliot Gren stood bent over a table of sprouting vines. We call these flame roots, Gren said. They grow in mineral-heavy dirt, toxic to most plants. But we made them tougher. Halden leaned in. Red leaves. Thick stems. Stronger than anything that should survive here. Genetically modified? Partially, Gren replied. At most. Of the change happened on its own. Arkenfall doesn't allow weakness. Above them, thunder cracked. No storm. Just the sky clearing its throat. You hear that? Gren asked. Yes. It's not a threat. It's a reminder. Halden nodded slowly. Outside, the land shifted again. A mild quake, but strong enough to rattle tools on nearby shelves. Alarms stayed silent. No one flinched. This was normal. Sergeant Denz Halcor met Halden near the perimeter wall. The sergeant was built like a machine and spoke with the tone of someone who had run out of fear long ago. Quake knocked loose a section of the west gate, Halcor said. Will it hold? Until it doesn't. They walked the edge of the colony. Metal panels were scarred and burned. The wall had been rebuilt at least 4 times. Each time we lose a section, we build it better, Halcor said. Arkanskin mixed with steel, it flexes under stress. Halden pointed at a crack. And that? Testament. Halden didn't ask more. Behind them, Flux Shade Unit 7 hovered in the air. A shimmering spiral of energy. It moved beside them like a curious bird. That one likes us, Halcor said. Been around since the 3rd month. Is it dangerous? Probably. But so is everything else here. Unit 7 pulsed faintly. A rhythmic beat. 3 fast flickers. 1 long. Mika called it their version of laughter. Halden didn't know whether to trust it, but he was starting to understand it. Later, in the fabrication bay, Navia Secker worked beneath a damaged converter. She wiped sweat from her forehead with an oil-stained glove. The quake knocked the oxygen relay offline, she said. I'm rebuilding it using scrap from an old rover and some flex tubing. Halden crouched nearby. Is that safe? No. But it'll work. She slid a component into place. Sparks flew. The machine hummed back to life. Oxygen stable, she said. Halden checked the readings. Normal levels. Power flow green. He looked at her. How old are you? 19. You shouldn't be here. She shrugged. None of us should. But here we are. Halden watched her for a moment. Her hands moved quickly. Her face calm. She didn't wait for approval. She didn't need it. Outside, night fell. The colony lights glowed dim and steady. The team gathered near the mess hall. They weren't celebrating. They were resting. Shoulders relaxed. Eyes alert. They sat in silence, eating meals made from flame roots and protein blocks. Halden sat with them. No clipboard. No questions. Just observation. These people had built a home where none should exist. Not from luxury. Not from comfort. But from grit. From teeth clenched against cold, fire, and fear. From patience grown under endless pressure. Vance joined him. She held a mug of something hot. What are you thinking? She asked. Halden looked at the group. This isn't survival anymore, he said. It's something more. Vance nodded. It's belonging. When you stop waiting to be rescued and start making things work. Unit 7 pulsed nearby. Watching. Always watching. Halden leaned back. Do you think Central will ever understand this place? Vance sipped her drink. They don't need to. We do. Another tremor rolled under their boots. No one moved. Nothing cracked. Ember. Hold stayed standing. Halden opened his report pad once more. He added a line. Infrastructure adapts. Morale intact. Colony stable under pressure. Survivors no longer waiting for return. They are not guests. They are residents. Above them, stars blinked in the dusty sky. And Arkenfall, wild and watching. Let them rest. The transmission room was silent. Only the low hum of active systems filled the space. Auditor Halden Maris stood alone. His report pad was open. The screen blinked, waiting for his final submission. He had spent weeks on Arkenfall. He had watched people survive storms that bent mountains. He had seen machines built from broken junk outperform official equipment. He had witnessed humans talk to creatures made of light and static. He had come expecting failure, but he found something no protocol could explain. Home. Not perfect. Not safe. But real. Commander Vance entered the room, quiet as always. She handed him a sealed container. Tomato preserve, she said, grown from the greenhouse. It's a bit sharp, but it'll survive the trip. Halden took it without speaking. She turned to leave, but paused. "Whatever you write," she said, "make it count." He sat down. Hands on the keyboard. Cursor blinking like a heartbeat. His orders had been simple. Assess, confirm failure, recommend, abandonment. But Arkenfall hadn't failed. His first draft had been full of technical jargon. He deleted it. He began again. Colonial Site Ember Hold. Planet Arkenfall. Hazard Class 17. He paused. Then added, status, active. Colony is fully operational, despite extreme environmental conditions. Personnel exhibit high morale, self-reliance, and adaptive intelligence. Infrastructure sustained through creative engineering. And local resource use. Native life forms previously classified as hostile show potential for mutual understanding and non-verbal communication. He kept writing. Each sentence felt heavier. Not because of danger, but because of truth. Central Command would not believe this. They would say the data was corrupted. They would say no human colony could succeed on a world like this. But Halden had seen it. He had eaten their food. He had felt the tremors beneath his feet. He had heard laughter during blackout drills. He had watched a creature of pure energy deliver spare parts like a helpful neighbor. He added a final section. Recommendation. No termination. No recall. No reclassification. This colony represents a new frontier of human resilience. They have not just survived, they have redefined what it means to live on a death world. He tapped send. The report fired into the sky. A tight beam signal piercing the clouds and vanishing into orbit. Halden exhaled. He had done it. The truth was on its way. What happened next was out of his hands. He stepped outside. Embers from the forge drifted in the wind. Someone was welding a new roof panel. Someone else tuned a soil converter. Unit 7 hovered above the mess hall, flickering blue in the light. Vance stood nearby, arms crossed. "You sent it?" she asked. Halden nodded. "It's honest," he said. She smirked. "That'll get you in trouble." "Probably." Mika ran by, chasing a rolling crate. TESSAR called from the workshop about needing 5 batteries and a miracle. NAVYA shouted something about a temperature spike in reactor. 2. No one panicked. Just another day on Arkenfall. Halden walked to the edge of the base. The plains stretched out like a rusted sea. Shadows of flux shades shimmered in the distance. He spoke quietly. "You were supposed to be a graveyard." The ground trembled once. Soft. Like an answer, not a threat. A reminder. Behind him, Ember Hold kept moving. Kept building. Kept standing. The stars above didn't care. But somewhere, that report would land on a desk. Someone would read it. They would question it. Deny it. Then maybe, just maybe, believe it. And when they did, the classification system would have to change. Not because Arkenfall became safer, but because humans had become something more. They weren't just settlers. They were rewriters of fate. Builders of homes in places that hated life. Halden stood there. A while longer. He knew he would leave tomorrow. His job was done. But part of him didn't want to go. Not because he feared the stars, but because for the first time in a long time, he had seen what real living looked like. Scarred, tired, loud. But alive. Vance joined him again. She handed him a bag. "Your flight back," she said. He took it. "If Central pulls you out," she said, "we'll hold the line." Halden looked at her. "You already have." The shuttle lifted the next morning. Dust swirled in spirals behind it. The colony grew smaller in the window, but its presence stayed large in Halden's mind. On board, he opened the sealed container. Inside, the tomato preserve was thick and red. Bite told him everything he needed to know. Sweet, sharp, real. Just like Ember. Hold. The report had been sent. The truth was rising. And somewhere far from protocol, a home had been built with teeth clenched and hearts open. And it would stand. No matter what the stars said,